My name is Hazel Williams, I am 32 years old, and I thought I had it made. Years of hard work have given me a successful career as a financial analyst and a luxurious apartment in the city center that I am very proud of. My younger sister, Brooke, has always been the favorite of our parents despite her history of irresponsible behavior. She knows how stable I am now, but I never expected her to wait until I am asleep to steal money. Before I start telling you about the nightmare that happened that night, let me know where you are watching this story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more stories about family betrayal and how I got justice. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Boston, the home of Eleanor and Thomas Williams, who worked hard to provide for my sister and me. From an early age, discrimination in our home was evident. Brooke, who was 3 years younger than me, always used her blue eyes and charming laugh to get out of trouble. When she broke a neighbor's window with a balloon at age 7, her parents called it an accident and praised her athletic ability. When Brooke failed math in 5th grade, they blamed her teachers for not understanding her creative imagination. I, on the other hand, felt a lot of pressure to be a role model and perfect. School reports had to be excellent, my room had to be spotless, and any mistakes were met with disappointment rather than kindness. This disparity had a profound effect on both of us. Brooke learned that she could get away with almost anything, and I became fiercely independent and financially savvy, qualities that would shape my adult life. From the age of 16, I worked part-time at a small bookstore, saving every penny for college. My parents said they would help with some of my tuition, but I had to contribute more. Brooke spent her teenage years constantly changing interests and friends, never finding stability or discipline in her life. College was a pivotal moment for me. I attended Boston University on a partial scholarship, worked 20 hours a week at the campus coffee shop, maintained a 3.9 GPA, and landed competitive internships every summer. Those years were grueling but valuable, as I learned how to work hard, budget meticulously, and not expect anyone to help me. After graduating, I faced a tough job market during the recession. Entry-level finance positions were scarce, so I worked for 9 months as an administrative assistant at an insurance company while sending out resumes everywhere. The rejection letters piled up, but I persisted and refused to give up. Finally, I landed a job as a junior analyst at Morton Financial. The pay was low, but it was the opportunity one had been waiting for. Over the course of 5 years, I worked my way up from 12-hour days, taking on unwanted projects, and building a reputation for attention to detail and reliability. When a senior analyst position opened up last year, I was promoted based on my determination and consistent performance. The promotion brought me a significant salary increase, enough to buy my dream apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. After years of sharing a room with a roommate, owning my own apartment was a huge joy. My financial discipline has helped me accumulate substantial savings and a great credit score of over 820. This has opened up many premium credit card services that are difficult for other young people to obtain. My Excelsior Black Card is my most valuable asset with a large limit and exclusive benefits. Although I rarely use the limit, I cherish the card for the financial strength and reputation I have built over the years. While I was building my career and financial foundation, Brooke was on a very different path. After high school, she studied 3 different majors in 4 years, finishing none of them. Photography, marketing, and psychology all intrigued her for a while, then she dropped out when she found the work difficult or boring. Her work history followed a similar pattern. Retail, restaurants, office administration, each starting with enthusiasm and then progressing to chronic sick days or lateness until she was fired. Each of her job losses was not Brooke's fault, in her view: difficult management, unreasonable shifts, or toxic work environments. My family nurtured that view by providing regular support, paying her rent when she was broke, buying her a new car when it was repossessed, and guaranteeing her apartment loans despite her history of evictions. They called it helping Brooke find her way, but I thought it was encouraging her irresponsible lifestyle. 6 months before the theft, Brooke had been fired from her marketing job for being late to work. That same week, her boyfriend, Jake, broke up with her after he found out she had lied about their joint finances. Brooke moved back into her parents' house, falling into a cycle of online shopping and nights out with friends. Money seemed to mysteriously appear even though she was unemployed. Sunday dinners at her parents' house became increasingly tense. My mother would praise Brooke's small accomplishments, like applying for a job or cooking a meal during the week, and my father avoided talking about the huge gap between us. When Brooke talked about a new purchase or an upcoming trip, I saw him wince before quickly changing the subject. Any attempt to set boundaries was misinterpreted as coldness or a lack of family affection. 3 weeks before the robbery, I refused to lend Brooke $2,000 to buy office clothes for an interview. A heated argument at dinner led my mother to call me selfish, that I had a lot of money and Brooke was the sister and we should help each other out. I told her I would help her in other ways, help edit her resume, practice interviews, but not give her the money because I would lose it all. Brooke left, calling me heartless, and my parents gave me that familiar look: "Why are you so difficult? Why don't you just give in?" I felt the familiar loneliness in my heart as I returned to the apartment, the feeling I had endured throughout my childhood. Loving her meant accepting being taken advantage of, and anyone who didn't was evil. Little did I know that Brooke had a plan in mind for my financial success. My Excelsior Black card with a $15,000 limit, which I kept separate from other cards. The card was not just money, but the result of years of perfect financial management. The day before the burglary, I was extremely stressed. I was finishing a big presentation for a potential client that could bring in millions of dollars for the company. The pressure was so great that I had trouble sleeping all week, sleeping only about 4 hours a night, relying on coffee and determination to stay awake. At exactly 7:30 p.m., as I was reviewing my documents for the 5th time, the phone rang. It was Brooke, her voice unusually weak. "Hazel, I know it's hard to believe, but I need a place to sleep tonight. Tiffany and I had a big fight, and I can't go home." Tiffany was Brooke's recent roommate, a girl she'd met through a mutual friend just 2 months earlier. I'd advised her not to stay with me to avoid trouble. "Why aren't you staying with your parents?" I asked. "They're in Vermont for the weekend." "I promise I'll move out tomorrow morning, just for one night," she pleaded. I hesitated for a few minutes, knowing I needed to get enough sleep to be ready for my presentation the next morning at 9, but thinking it wouldn't be good for her to sleep in the car or hang out with friends, I agreed. I texted her the address and told her to ring the bell. Brooke arrived 45 minutes later, carrying a backpack too big for an overnight stay. Her eyes were a little red, whether from crying or allergies, as she said. She hugged me tightly, thanking me profusely for helping her. We ate simple noodles that I had made in a hurry. Brooke told me incoherently about her fight with Tiffany, about buying food together and wearing mismatched rental clothes that I had heard were unusual. She looked around the apartment with an expression I didn't recognize. As I washed the dishes, Brooke asked evasively, "What time do you have to leave for work tomorrow morning?" I said I'd be out at 7:30 to get ready. "Are you stressed? Did you sleep well?" The question surprised me because Brooke rarely asked about my health. I admitted that I'd been having trouble sleeping for the past few days, and that I was taking prescription sleeping pills, but not much else. As I made my bed on the sofa, Brooke asked odd questions about neighborhood security. How easy was it to open the door in the moldy weather? Each question seemed small and separate, but strung together into a pattern I was too tired to recognize. Before going to bed, I showed her a few things in the bathroom: a drinking glass, a TV remote, and then put my handbag and wallet on the bedside table, an old habit that I didn't think to put away when I had guests, even though my precious Excelsior black card wallet was carefully separated in a small bag. I took sleeping pills, set my alarm for 6 a.m., and fell into a deep sleep, the combination of the pills and the lack of sleep. Normally I wake up easily when there's a noise, but that night I slept so soundly that I didn't even notice. At exactly 2 a.m., according to the time that would later be important evidence, Brooke gently stepped out of the room, gently turning the doorknob to hear if I was awake. Hearing deep, even breathing and no movement, she gently opened the door, saw me sleeping soundly, and walked to the bedside table. She stood there for a minute, making sure I wasn't awake, before she carefully took her wallet from her purse. Brooke closed the bathroom door and turned on the low light. In her purse, she found what she was looking for: my Excelsior black card. She pulled it out, took a photo of both sides with her phone, wrote down the 16-digit card number, expiration date, and security code, and took a photo of her driver's license to remember her billing address. Then she put the card back where it belonged. But there was more to it. Back in my bed, she picked up my phone that was charging next to the bed. Brooke used my face to unlock it with facial recognition, quickly turned off notifications that might alert me to purchases, and activated the forwarding of verification codes to her phone before erasing the trail. As I did so, I turned slightly, and she stopped abruptly, holding her breath as I fell asleep again, then gingerly put my phone back on the charger. Brooke returned to the living room, using her personal computer to start a series of expenses. Within an hour, while I was still asleep, Brooke booked 2 business-class tickets to Tokyo for her and Olivia, our cousin, departing at 11 a.m. that same day, for a total of $6,000. She booked a 7-night stay at the luxurious Park Hyatt Tokyo for $3,500, then ordered another $5,500 worth of high-end Japanese brands online. By 3:30 a.m., she had spent $15,000, the entire credit limit. Brooke had timed it perfectly so that no notifications would wake me, and had her departure plan in place before I could react. In the early morning, Brooke packed her things, wrote a note: "Urgent with Tiffany, must leave. Thanks for letting me stay. Love, Zob," and left it on the table. She left the apartment at 5:15 a.m., 45 minutes before my alarm, and had a car waiting to take her to the airport, where Olivia was already waiting with her luggage for the trip. She thought she had done a perfect job, but no. I woke up not to the alarm but to the phone ringing nonstop at 6:23 a.m. A series of text messages announcing that the Excelsior card had been approved for $600 in airline transactions, $3,500 in hotel stays, $2,800 in luxury shopping, $1,700 in electronics, $100 in fashion stores. All of it made me so shocked that I almost fell out of bed. I had never bought luxury goods or been to Japan before. I immediately called the card fraud hotline, tried to stay calm, and affirmed that none of the transactions were made by me. When the representative asked to confirm the suspicious transactions, I rummaged through my bag, took out my wallet, and saw that the black card was still in place. How could it have been used when it was so close to me? They transferred me to the fraud department, and I suddenly remembered Brooke. I called her name, but the apartment was silent, and went to the living room, only to find a message and an empty sofa. I called and texted her, but there was no response. I contacted Brooke's roommate, Tiffany, and learned that the two had not argued, and that Brooke had said that my sister was staying at her parents' house to help with housework. The obvious lie confirmed my suspicions. I checked social media and saw that Brooke had posted a selfie at the airport with the caption, "Surprise trip with cousin Tokyo, business class." The post was 30 minutes old, and the flight was at 11 a.m. that same morning. The sound of my parents calling me made the atmosphere even heavier. My mother brushed it off, denied it, said Brooke couldn't have done that and maybe the bank made a mistake. My father also intervened, monitoring my suspicious tone, saying I was deliberately causing trouble to affect our relationship. I replied, "Dad, I saw a picture of Brooke at the airport using my card." But my parents still said I shouldn't be so quick to judge and that I might have remembered wrongly due to stress. I thought again, it couldn't be. The evidence was clear. But the unconditional protection of my family made me feel broken. I skipped an important meeting because I couldn't concentrate with the panic I felt. I watched Brooke's every post on Instagram, watching her and her sister celebrate their expensive vacation, and my heart was stabbed with 1,000 needles. This wasn't just about the money. This was a betrayal of the deepest kind. I called the police. Officer Garcia said that financial fraud within families was not uncommon and that this case was complicated because it involved a relative. Since the card was in my wallet, it was identity theft, as opposed to physical theft. She warned that there might be family pressure to withdraw the case. I accepted the risk to protect myself. At the bank, the fraud representative was pretty pessimistic because the transactions were all verified over my phone and therefore considered legitimate initially. The investigation could take up to 90 days. I would have to make the minimum monthly payment, which would be a huge financial strain even if I saved. Anger welled up as I thought of my sister enjoying a luxury trip while I struggled with the consequences. My family continued to defend Brooke. My mother said they believed she had won an online contest and had received graduation money from Olivia's family. I laughed and asked my mother when Brooke had ever won a prize. My father advised her to stop so as not to cause trouble. But for me, the evidence was too clear to ignore. I received messages from relatives criticizing me for being jealous and making trouble, but also advising me to seek legal advice because the matter was serious. After many sleepless nights, I realized that this betrayal was not just about money, but also about the way my life had been distorted by my family's favoritism. All the times my parents had turned a blind eye to Brooke's hurtful behavior, from breaking toys, opening my presents early, to copying my essays to being praised for creativity, all came back to me in a spiral of pain and injustice. My friend Stephanie was my rock, always there for me, understanding and never doubting me. She advised me to stand my ground, saying that many people also suffer financial abuse from their families. I continued to gather evidence, prepare documents, and have my law school friend Derek review them. He confirmed that I had a strong case to sue. The family meeting was called when Brooke and Olivia returned on Sunday, as scheduled. I knew my parents would welcome them without confrontation, so I prepared carefully, bringing a full portfolio of evidence. At the welcoming party, I made a big splash when everyone noticed me. I laid out each piece of evidence with the calm, competent confidence of an analyst, the transaction history that showed the IP address in my building, the social media posts that matched the time of purchase, the reservation confirmation email sent to Brooke's Gmail, the identical signature on the purchase receipt, and the handwriting analyst's signature. Then I played the 2 a.m. security camera video for everyone to see. Brooke's face paled, and she tried to deflect the blame onto me, saying that I had agreed to let her use the card as a gift. Olivia spoke up to confirm that she had been duped when Brooke told her it was a birthday present. In the silence of the room, my mother choked, and my father was shocked to realize the truth. For perhaps the first time, he acknowledged the consequences of Brooke's actions. But my mother still insisted on me forgiving her, saying she could do housework to pay it back gradually, while I argued that she did not have a stable job and had been financially saved many times. I asked the police to accept the entire file and wanted to proceed with a lawsuit. That evening, my father finally put his hand on my shoulder, a belated apology but the first step in the family's healing process. According to the court ruling, Brooke had to repay the full $15,000, receive 2 years of probation, and 200 hours of community service, and the criminal conviction would remain on her record. In the months that followed, my family underwent profound changes. My parents continued to shield and intervene in Brooke as best they could, while I firmly maintained my distance, refusing to tolerate so-called misunderstandings or one-time mistakes. These were the first boundaries I established in my life. Brooke's roundabout way of blaming, denying, justifying, was no longer accepted easily. Olivia was probably the least responsible. She paid for all the items bought with the fraudulent money and sent a sincere apology letter. I accepted the apology and met her for coffee a few times. I began therapy, realizing the profound impact my family history had on my outlook, emotions, and mental health. Through a support group for survivors of domestic financial abuse, I found empathy and inner strength. Stephanie became my best friend, keeping me grounded through regular Sunday brunches that replaced the conflict-filled family dinners. She was right. The boundaries I set were not only for my own benefit, but also a gift to Brooke, to face the consequences and truly grow. This event also led me to focus on a new job, creating financial education lectures in the community, with a special emphasis on how to prevent identity fraud even by family members. Half a year after the trial, the family gathered for Thanksgiving, the first time with a formal invitation from Dad and a mention of Brooke wanting to talk to me. The atmosphere was different from previous gatherings. Brooke appeared casual, having found a lower-paying administrative job than she could have because her criminal record limited her opportunities. She trembled and bowed her head to apologize to everyone, especially me, admitting that she had hurt the whole family and violated trust. This time there was no more trickery or fake crying in her voice, only sincere repentance and acceptance that she might not be forgiven. I accept that apology. Not as an immediate reconciliation, but as a starting point toward a new future that might rebuild trust. Parents are also learning to acknowledge their mistakes with the help of family support groups. The party was tense, the eyes averted, the words awkward, but there was undeniable honesty, a big step forward after years of denial and concealment. On the way home, I reflected on the extraordinary journey that began with a $15,000 theft. The financial loss was significant, but the transformation in me and my family was more valuable than anything else. I found my voice, established clear boundaries, and learned that I could survive despite rejection from those I once called family. Sometimes the most valuable thing we can receive is the courage to say, "This is my reality. This is my truth. This is my worth, and I will not let anyone else deny it." Have you ever stood up for yourself when your family betrayed you when no one believed you? Where did you find the strength to stand your ground? Share your story in the comments below, and if you resonate with me, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to know that their boundaries matter too. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with those who were once responsible for protecting us.